Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. So it's about 5:40, March 25th, Tuesday, 3 degrees centigrade, 39 degrees Fahrenheit according to that, 40 degrees Fahrenheit according to that. Feels cold though. I don't know why. Both my charged and knee charged lights are on. You can see it's kind of overcast, so my batteries are charging. I spent a lot of the day on this thing. What I did is, if you take a look, you can see the red hubs. Those are from a 200X. I ordered those over eBay. I think they were $20 each delivered. That was $40. So I did that. Put the hubs on it. Cleaned the chain up and oiled it. Right. So that's done. I also took care of the brake. Right, so the brakes. See that? That's something you haven't seen on one of my bikes in a while. Brakes that work. I was asked how much work it is to change one of these. There are 4 bolts. Well, you got to get the chain guard off. I never put the chain guards back on, so I took the chain guard off. That's the first thing. There are 2 bolts here to get the chain guard off, and there's a couple back here, one in the center and one on the back. You kind of have the outer chain guard that kind of clips on, and then the inner chain guard's bolted. When you take the rear end off, the chain guard will come with it, but once again you got to take those 2 bolts off. The rear end itself is only 4 bolts. 1, 2, and then 2 on the bottom, 3, and there's 1 back under there. So only 4 bolts. The problem is these 4 bolts, this guy and this guy, given that they're inside the brake drum here, these bolts have a tendency to get rusty on the inside. So when you go to spin them out, you got rust here. So when you go to take them off, they get jammed in the threads, and they have a tendency to break. There's like a welded nut that they go into inside this can, and that has a tendency to break off. Then you have to get in there with a grinder and grind things apart to get the rear end apart. So it's not a hard job. It's just I call it a pain in the ass job, because typically these 2 bolts, the ones on this side, come off easy. Typically, for some reason, the bottom one seems to come off easy on that side. That top one, that shiny one you're looking at right there, that one always seems to get into trouble. If you buy an eBay rear end, make sure you look closely at the pictures. Sometimes people are smart enough to show you that things are threaded in there. If they don't show you that, you should be a little nervous about buying the rear end. But anyway, so the back axle's on, goes round and round. About this tire, I broke the bead again and felt around. The tube I put into this tire is 25/11/9. The tire is 22/11/9. And no matter how I seem to rearrange the tube, it does seem to have kind of a bag on that over there and a bag over there. So I ordered the right tube, which is another $20, but that's on its way. So hopefully I'll get it. And for my next episodes of the Horde next week, I'll get that tube put in here. So I have back tires, that'll give me front tires, and then we'll be all good to go. I think this thing, even that front cable is pretty good. So this might have front and back brakes, which is a real rarity for my bikes. So there's that. I spent like 5 minutes, kind of cleaning up the plastic here. And, you know, didn't do anything amazing. Just you know, gave it a couple of minutes of steel wool, and you know, just a drop of WD-40 and wiped it down. So that's what it looks like. So it was that, and I don't know how well it's picking up, but it cleaned up. Whoever seemed to be painting, they left all these paint dots all over it. I don't know, could you guys see the paint dots? Yeah, I think you guys could see them. So I had to clean those off. It's alright. These fenders, structurally, they're in nice shape. Structurally, they're in better shape than those over there. But those over there actually cleaned up a bit better. So there we are. I also I have like brake handles, partial brake handles all over the place. So I put together a front brake handle for the front brake. Once again, I think the cable's pretty good, so that's going to work. I tried to those forks there. I took this front wheel off of those, and I was hoping to squeeze that front wheel on there, but the axle is different. See, these two ends are lined up, and you see this is all for that guy, right? And this here, one with the socket still attached, is off that guy. So this guy obviously has a wider front end, which makes sense because that tire was on this front end, and this is a 22/11/8, your standard 200S, and that guy had a 25/11/9. It's going to have a 22/11/9. So there's how I spent my day playing with these toys. I also hopped around with the battery charger and made sure all my batteries were peaked up. You know, from sitting around, they kind of go down they were down at 80%, which is good enough to start if it's relatively warm. But if it's not, they may not start. So I didn't want to fool around. So there's that. Then the house, you guys could see. I'm actually really happy that this project was instigated. I was just going to have the roof on the sunroom back there was just a flat roof. And he kind of said, you know, if you're going to keep this house a long time, why don't you do yourself a favor and get a little pitch on that roof? And I thought to myself, you know, I'm not getting younger, and he's not getting younger. So it's not a bad idea just to get it done. So I think, particularly when it's sided, I think it's going to make the sunroom look like it's more of a part of the house. That back porch thing, he also put a pitch on that. You could see on there. We could take a quick trip up the ladder for those of you who think I need exercise, and I'll show you what the roof looks like. You guys could see it's just not completely defrosted because this is ice, right? And if it was so hot, that would be all melted. But it's defrosted enough that it is muddy, right? There's some more ice. There's the vents he cut in underneath, right? 2 and 3 and 4 down there. Then he opened up the roof also, so there's vents into the roof. Here you guys go. You guys could see the shingle, what the shingles look like. There we are. So what he did was, this roof has that blue stuff first, right? It's on plywood, are actually, no, what he put down first was, some people call it gutter guard or roof guard or whatever. It's the stuff that kind of, you peel, you kind of lay it down, fold it up, peel, and then lay down half of it, and then lift the other side up, peel the membrane off, lay down the other half, and it sticks right to the roof. It's kind of a sticky thing. And then the top side, you peel it's a single strip, so to speak, and now the whole top side is sticky, and then you can put everything down right on top of it. So the roof is covered with that, and it all kind of gels together to create a single membrane, which makes it a lot easier to seal the roof, right? Even though now I have a halfway decent angle on it, having it sealed also works really good. It keeps the water to heck out the house. Don't need any water in the house, thank you. So there's that, and I think that's all I have to tell you. I played with the wheels today. I made arrangements to pay the government between the state of New York and the feds the $9,000 I owe them, and made arrangements to pay my buddy Chuck for this work. The story of Chuck. I taught high school to get my teaching certification back in 1991. And I walk in to the classroom and I see this kid who looks like a person I know from my corporate job. I was still working at the corporation then. Or I was working at the corporation. I had been there about, 10 years, I guess, at that point. And I was thinking of leaving and going to become a teacher, so I wanted to get my teaching certification. Anyway, I walk into the classroom, and there's this kid in there who looks so much like a friend of mine from work. And my mentor teacher warned me that he was the worst kid in the class, that he was going to be nothing but trouble. So I ask him, are you so-and-so's kid? And he goes, yeah, why? I go, I work with your father. And he goes, oh, shit. And it turns out he asks his father about me. And his father says, oh, he's completely nuts. I'm surprised they let him teach a class. So, at which time, given that I'm too crazy to teach and he's the worst student in the class, we became fast friends. And that was, 10, 20, 23 years ago. Chuck has tried college. He really didn't care for college. So he went into construction. He actually worked with my father in construction for a while. So he's been doing this for 20 years now. He's married. He's got a daughter and a dog, Muggsy the dog. And he's just, things are a little slow. So he's out of work. And I need the job done and he needs to work. So we're all good. Anyway, the story of Chuck. He and I, whenever we drink together, we get into trouble. One time we were right down here in the driveway setting off firecrackers and smoke bombs and skyrockets and all that kind of crap, bottle rockets. And my neighbor next door over there, before I got a new neighbor, called the cops on us. So the cop shows up and we were sitting on the tailgate of my Ranger over there, and one of our antics, wait a minute, where's the Ranger? There we go, there's the Ranger. We were sitting on the tailgate, and one of our antics was we got a pretzel container, a plastic pretzel container, and we got this beehive into the pretzel container, and the pretzel container was sitting in between us, and we had drilled some holes into it. As a matter of fact, the beehive was right there, where there's one there again, kind of. See it right there? See how it was bigger? There used to be a bigger beehive there. So we dropped a couple of firecrackers into the pretzel container, and the bees were pissed. So we were sitting on the tailgate of my truck, having had a couple to drink, and we were kind of laughing like morons. And the state trooper comes down the driveway and asks if we've been shooting guns, and we responded no. He didn't ask about fireworks. He asked what was in the pretzel container, and we told him bees and smoke bombs. And he told us to open the container, and we said no, because they're kind of pissed. And, meanwhile, we're kind of laughing and all. So he takes the container and opens it, and, obviously Chuck and I run away, and the bees come out and chase him all over. And we're laughing like a couple of school children. Then my wife comes home and sees the trooper and sees us laughing and just walks by us like she doesn't even know we exist. Like she completely ignores us. At that point, the cop tells us not to drive, not to operate any equipment, and to try not to have the neighbors call about us doing anything. So we're laughing like morons. And finally, he leaves, and we're all set, and my wife comes out and yells at the two of us, and that was it. Anyway, time to call it. Thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing. Remember to keep your feet, your tires, your tracks down, your head, your steering wheel, and your handlebars up. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Horde. Till then, take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.